Hello, everybody, and welcome to Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to be excellent. My name is Josh Cadillac, and once again, I'll be in the driver's seat for today's show as we learn how to stop chasing paychecks and learn how to start building a business. And we learn how to build a business by talking to some of the most successful business people in the world who've successfully navigated the perils that we're trying to survive to figure out how they got where they are. We have a great show for you today because we have a great guest, Mr. Derrick Girard. Derrick, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity. This is a great honor.
Totally my privilege to have you here, sir. So, Derrick, why don't you start off by telling everybody what it is you do?
Well, currently, I recently sold my tech company, and so now I've found myself in this fun little position where I wrote a book about my experience and trying to promote the book and tell the story, and then doing some consulting work as well to share my experiences with other people that are in the same entrepreneur startup phase and all those positions that I was in before.
Okay, good stuff. What got you started doing that?
The book or the consulting?
What got you started in the tech business in the beginning?
Oh man, it was sort of an interesting path. So my background, coming out of the military, I went into the financial services industry, and I found myself in 2015, 2016 in this weird spot where my clients kept texting me, as weird as that was, and it was odd for me back then to realize that it's not legal to communicate through text with clients. You're just not allowed to communicate. There was no way to capture it and make it compliant.
Sure.
And I set out to try to find a solution. I don't like being told no. And it turns out there wasn't one available. And so the next best thing was, well, if nobody has solved this problem yet, I'm going to solve it. And I'm not a tech guy, right? I would have been the last guy you would have ever thought would have done that. And I just started asking a lot of questions, learning a lot, and eventually found my way into building this company that essentially solved that problem for me as well as all my peers.
Good stuff. What do you like best about it? What did you like best about it, I should say?
You know, it's the excitement, right? When you're building something from the ground up, it's one of those things where not a lot of people, when you go to sort of the normal day-to-day job, can you just wake up in the middle of the night and just be so excited you don't want to go back to sleep, right?
Sure.
That was the thing that I absolutely loved was there was no limit to what I could do because it was all up to me. And so it was just, I don't know, it was for somebody who's motivated like I am, it was a phenomenal feeling.
Where do you think all the success came from for you? Where do you attribute it?
Well, I mean, if I look back on it, most of it's the way I was raised. So I grew up an Army brat. My dad was in the Army for 20 years, active duty. I moved all over the world. I went to 12 different schools before I graduated. I went through some pretty interesting times and some pretty interesting experiences. And for me, I just grew up with this mentality of excuses don't solve problems and figure it out. And that's what I refer to all the time, the figure it out mindset of excuses don't solve problems. If there's something in the way, if there's an issue, how do you solve it? And let's solve it.
Gotcha. So that's the mindset. What do you think in your makeup, the way that you are, makes you good at doing what you've done?
A lot of it has to do with my tenacity to persevere, right? When I get pushed, I push back. When you tell me something's not possible, when you tell me you can't do something, I mean, I heard that a lot throughout my life.
Sure.
Challenge me and question me. Again, my upbringing has sort of happened all the time. And so for me, at its core, when you say you can't do that, it's not compliant or there's no solution out there or it can't be done. I knew a lot of people hated that answer and I knew a lot of people struggled with it. And for me, it was like, well, one of us has to take this on. It's going to be me.
Somebody's got to do something about it. It might as well be me. No, I could see in your body language as you're talking about being told, no, you can't do that, that you're getting your back up. Like just hearing yourself say it makes you want to get a little feisty and figure it out. It's in the wiring, and that's good to have recognized that you've leveraged that to take and make yourself successful. It's good stuff. What do you think makes you passionate about what you do now?
I think the thing that excites me the most about what I went through building this up, this company and all the struggles and the hurdles that I had to overcome, I want to help other people understand that. I want to help other people realize that it doesn't have to be that difficult. There's a lot of things we can all do together, and there's a lot of things that we can do as we think through and how we process stuff. But most importantly, as I say to people all the time, there isn't a single thing about me that's special. There isn't a thing about me that's so unique that you can't relate to what I went through and you can't apply the same principles that I applied. And so I think it's fun for me when I get a chance to talk to different people and I hear what they're going through and they hear what I went through and they realize, man, it's not the same thing, but it's not so different that it's unrelatable.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
important. I'm not unique. I'm not special. I promise you. Maybe a little bit different with what I did, but everybody should be able to relate to what I did and how I did it.
Yeah. I before we got on here, you started talking to me about some of the lawsuits and some of the headwinds that you faced and all this. Uh, I'll call it collective brain damage that you picked up along the way, that we all
Yeah.
pick up along our journey. With all of that, there's always disappointment. There's always unmet expectations. How do you handle yourself, Derrick, when there are those unmet expectations, when things don't go as you'd hoped they would go?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to understand they never do go as you hope they would go, right? The company never grows as fast as you want. The things that jump in front of you are the things that you would never expect to jump in front of you. For me, I started this company with my uncle, and at the end of it, my uncle was one of the lawsuits, and so
Oh,
that's the
geez.
last thing. Yeah, it's sort of the last thing you think will happen, but at the end of the day, it's just you don't have again sitting back and feeling sorry for myself is not how I was ever going to solve any of these issues. And so how I
Doesn't fix
handled it
anything.
was literally I compartmentalized everything I went through, broke it down into how do I solve these issues one at a time, and just literally attack them head on, every single one of them.
That's what you got to do. I mean,
Yep.
that's yeah. And my father used to say all the time: by the inch it's a cinch, by the yard it's hard. You
Yep.
take the next thing that's in front of you, you take and deal with that, and then the next thing and the next thing, and you just keep moving along. And lo and behold, after a long period of time, you make a whole bunch of progress. It's just kind of how it
Yep.
works. So, what is a tool you would suggest to help the people listening today? Something that's a tool that you use that you think is helpful, that you think maybe would help somebody in with whatever they're going through right now.
Well, it's not so much maybe I wouldn't say a tool. I think it's a mindset, right? And it's what I
Okay.
refer to as the FIO mindset. And one of the things that I love to talk to people about is how to apply this mindset when it comes to different things, whether it's a business challenge or personal challenge. It literally applies anywhere. And it's basically a simple philosophy that I have and I break this down in this book that I wrote. And it's basically helping people understand, right? Understanding humility, understanding self awareness. That's one of the most important things. Self confidence is never a substitution for self awareness. And everything you're dealing with, if you slow down, if you compartmentalize this and you start acting with a little humility, you'll start to realize some other things are a little bit more present, or there's other obstacles that might be in front of you. And you might realize yourself, you might be the biggest obstacle there is. And so I think a lot of it is not so much a tool, but just really the way people think, the way they process information, and the way they attack certain objectives and challenges they have in front of them. I think most people, if you present to them a challenge that they've been through, they successfully have navigated through, if you were to get them to slow down and sort of explain how they did it, most of them will say that they've applied a lot of these same principles. And if you think of the one that you didn't navigate very well and the one you struggled with, it's pretty easy if you're self-aware to say, yep, I kind of missed that one. I screwed that one up, or I didn't do this the right way.
Yeah, lack of introspection. It's amazing how often it is actually ourselves
Mhm.
that is the thing that is in the way, and
Yep.
getting ourselves out of the way so that we can do what we're, reach the greatness that we're capable of. I
Yep.
agree with that very much. Um, so let me ask you to assess what you see out there today. What do you see as the opportunity in the market today? What's got you excited as you're looking at the market today?
I think what really has me excited is helping people understand when it comes to, I'll use myself as an example as an entrepreneur, helping people understand the path of being an entrepreneur, what it actually means to be an entrepreneur, and the challenges you're going to go through, but the tremendous reward on the other end if you can navigate that properly. I think most people that aspire to be an entrepreneur, they love the idea of it. they don't understand, for lack of a better word, they don't understand the hell they're going to go through along the way, right? And so when you start to understand that, and for me, being able to share that with these people that, hey, it's worth it, I promise you, but it's not a smooth ride.
It's going
And
to
then
suck.
outside of that, right? I mean, take anybody else. I use my kids as an example. They're teenagers, helping them understand how to apply this figure it out mindset. Again, stop using excuses. It's just amazing to me, this world we live in today. Everyone expects somebody else to do it for them.
Yeah.
Everybody expects something else to be really simple, or somebody else is going to handle it. What if you
Yeah.
don't?
Give me the study guide for the test
Yeah.
rather than just thinking material.
What if you don't? Right.
Yeah. What if there is no
So for
study
me,
guide?
like, I built this tech company not knowing a thing about tech because I had to figure it out. I get hit with 3 massive lawsuits at the same time. I became a law student. I had no interest in becoming a law student, right? But I literally just inundated myself with everything I could to learn because nobody else was going to do it for me. And I think that's really exciting for me to be able to share that with people that go through anything, personal, professional. Don't wait for somebody else to solve it. You can actually do this yourself. It's not that hard, but you have to be willing to do it.
And that brings us to your book, because I believe that's what your book was about, is attacking that. So tell us a little bit more about your book. Is it out? When's it coming out? What tell us about it?
Yeah, well, I've got a copy here. It's actually out. It's titled "Put to the Test." And when I wrote it, the question I wanted to answer, to be honest with you, was when I got done with all of this and I built this and I survived the lawsuits and I sold the company and did very well. The question I kept getting was, Derrick, how in the world did you do that? Like, how did you do that with no marketing and no sales? And I wanted to be able to answer that question. And it's not
Mm,
about here's me and it's not about here's what I went through. It's literally here's what I think really matters to people as you're applying different principles.
sure.
And I think if you start getting real and you start getting honest, I use a lot of examples in there of me, of my family, of my friends, of different things we've been through throughout life and how we handle it and the perspective we use to look at it and how that makes all the difference in the world. So I wanted to write the book to say, I'm not special. Here's what I think matters. And here's here's the approach that I take to address these challenges. And here's what I did. And here's how it worked. And so my hope is that people can take this and go, yeah, I can see this. I can see myself in this, and I can see how I can apply this.
No, that's a very noble goal. It sounds like a great book. I'm excited for you. And obviously, listeners, you want a great book. There you go. What would you say, Derrick, is the most important thing that you've learned in the process of doing all that you've done?
Man, I think that the most important thing for me is there's it there's always going to be something standing in the way. There's always a reason to fail. There's
Yep.
always a reason to quit. And
Mhm.
man, it's amazing how acceptable those things are.
And
So
culture, absolutely.
when I try something and it doesn't work, it's just amazing how many people are completely okay with that. They'll pick you up. In fact, if you surround yourself with the wrong people, they encourage you to fail because it's better for their ego.
Yeah,
And
they feel
so,
better about themselves.
yeah, and so that to me is probably the most powerful thing, is just to understand, like when I started building this company, it's just amazing when you share that story how many other people have ideas, how many other people have great ideas or great products, and they never do it, right? So there's always a reason to quit, there's always a reason to fail. It's completely acceptable. And I think if you throw that aside, it's amazing what you can accomplish.
I would say it's completely acceptable if you let it be.
Yeah.
Like society will give you a pass. The
Hmm.
question is, are you going to play society standards or to your standards? Are you going to find out what society thinks you're capable of or what you're actually capable of? You
Yep.
run the risk every day of never seeing how good you can be. So you have to make the choices to get that out of you.
Yep.
Having been in the military, you've seen that, right? That you get pushed beyond what you think you can do, and lo and behold, you're still there afterwards. You've just moved the bar of what your perception of your capability is.
Yep.
You learn this. You learn yourself as you
Yep.
go. Um, so Derrick, now that we kind of understand the concept of what your book is about and everything, we want to get to know you a little bit better. So I got a
Yeah.
couple of kind of like quick questions. Get your first take on these. What would you say you're most proud of in business that you've accomplished?
I'd say the thing I'm most proud of is the staff that I was able to build when I built the company.
Nice. Good stuff. Similar question. What are you most proud of in life you've accomplished?
I was able to convince a woman way out of my league to give me a chance.
There you go. Playing above your game. Nicely
Yep.
done. All right. What one piece of advice would you give our listeners?
Excuses don't solve problems.
Good enough.
Yeah.
One book. You had to narrow it down to one book besides your book. What was your book title again? One more time for everybody, so in case they didn't get it.
Yeah. Put to the test.
Put to the test. Besides Put to the Test, what is the one book you would recommend?
Oh man. One book that I've referenced so many times. God, there's two books that come to mind, but I'll use one that I've referenced many, many times, and that is Peaks and Valleys.
Okay. Good
And
stuff.
I love the book. It's a it's a metaphor, and it's basically the simple version or the simple explanation is what you do when you're down, what you do when you're there will dictate how long you're there. And what you do when you're up in that peak and when you finally get there, what you do when you're there will dictate how long you're there.
How long you stay there. Yeah.
Yep.
That makes tons of sense, man. Love it. All right. Favorite movie of all time?
Oh my goodness. Favorite movie of all time. Oh man, I could go comedy. There's certain movies that when you see them on TV, you don't turn the channel. Shawshank Redemption is one of them, right? That's a classic.
Can't go wrong with Shawshank, man. That's always a safe. Such a good movie. I believe it's Stephen King too, which I didn't think was
Phenomenal movie.
Yeah, great movie. Doreen Mile as well, actually.
Yeah.
Same guy. All right. Famous person in history you would meet if you could.
Famous person in history I would meet if I had the chance. Gosh. Man, I would say, gosh, that's a really hard question for me to answer. I don't know that I can. I'm thinking of athletes and all these different people that I would love to get a chance to sit down and pick their brain. Heck, I would say even Kobe Bryant. I'd love to sit down and pick that guy's brain.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
What person from your past would you want to sit down with and have lunch with today if you could?
Well, honestly, I would say somebody that's from my past who's still alive that I don't speak to, and that would be my father.
Wow, there seems like there's some unpacking to do there, so we'll just walk carefully away from that.
Yeah,
that landmine. Yeah, man. All right, I get that. Dads and sons can not always the easiest relationship.
Yeah.
One piece of advice you'd go back and give a younger version of you.
I would say take it serious. I think the biggest mistake that I made was I waited too long to start taking education and learning and what I was capable of serious. It's one of the things that I stress with my kids. And of course, they're kids, so they don't want to listen to me. But there was nobody who really encouraged me to take it more serious sooner. And I had to make a lot of mistakes before I figured that out on my own.
Yep. No, I get that.
Yep.
You should be more uniquely suited to answer this question than many of the guests that we have on here. If you had to be in a foxhole taking fire, who would you pick to have in there with you? Who's got your back?
Ooh, man, I would say, honestly, it's going to sound funny. I'd probably say one of my best friends, Derrick. Same name, but he'd be right there with me.
I would imagine you would have probably thoroughly vetted him for that role at this point. So
we might not successfully fight our way out with us two in there, but man, we'd enjoy the time together. That's for sure.
We'd have fun on the way. We might go out, but it's going to be good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Derrick, what do you do to unwind, buddy?
For me, I've got a 15-year-old son, a 12-year-old daughter. We're heavy into sports, and so most of my weekends it's sports and traveling to sports. But when my wife and I get a chance to, it's getting on the boat, trying to relax. We live in Minnesota, so we don't have a lot of boating time. But when it's there, we're on the boat.
Yeah, I've seen that you have beautiful bodies of water there in Minnesota. It's just when you can actually get on those bodies of water and not turn into a something sickle.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's frosty. I was just up there not too long ago. Up, oh my gosh, Mackinac Island. I was up in the Great
Okay.
Lakes there. Yeah, yeah. So it's
Yep.
a beautiful area. What's Derek? Obviously, you got the book going. You got some stuff that you're cooking. What's next for you? What's the next project that maybe you haven't even voiced yet, but that's rolling around in the back of your head? That's got your attention.
Well, the two things that have my attention right now is, the promoting the book, and ideally, I want to continue to do more public speaking and sharing what I've been through. That's a big passion of mine. But I've got another project that I'm working on, another product that I'm working on. This one's not a piece of technology; it's a physical product, and so I'm working on that when I have my free time, and it drives my wife crazy that I can't just sit still, but I can't. I just can't do it.
This is what she married. She
Yep.
knew. She
Yep.
knew. All right. Last question I got for you, Derek. Where can people find you if they want to find out more about you and what you're doing?
Yeah, I'll make it simple. The website is my name, so derrickgirard.com. There's more information on there about the book, about what I went through, how to get a hold of me if there's any questions or anybody wants to ask anything. That's probably the easiest way to do it.
Love it. Derek, thank you so much for your time and for your opinions on this and your wisdom. It's greatly appreciated. I know my listeners are really going to enjoy it. So thank you for coming on.
No, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. And I want to thank our listeners for hanging out with us and spending their time, guys, as I always do, reminding you there's never a good excuse not to know your shit. Till next time.